Good evening. Welcome to an evening edition of Coffee with Tea. I am your host, the amazing T Street, and I am excited for our topic tonight. Now, I don't know about y'all, but 2026 has come out of the gate swinging on a lot of people. I've had so many people talking to me about some of the challenges that they're facing. So I decided if it was going to come out the year swinging, I'm coming out the gate swinging too. So y'all, I got a heavy hitter tonight. I have a heavy hitter. Our Coffee with Tea topic tonight is because our minds matter. Journey to mental wellness. Notice I didn't say mental health. Journey to mental wellness. And y'all, I always tell the kids, everybody in my circle though. So y'all know I had to go get a heavy hitter for us tonight to talk about this heavy topic. All right. So tonight I bring to you my friend and my sister, Stephanie K. Starks. Y'all, Stephanie, and this is no lie, she is one of the most highly sought after mental health professionals in Franklin County. And I want to really be clear with y'all. Y'all just know about her in Franklin County. But what you don't know is that she's also well respected around the state and around the nation. Stephanie serves currently as the president of the National Association of Social Workers Ohio chapter. Y'all, my friend is the president of the Ohio chapter. I don't know about y'all, but that's a pretty big deal when you're literally responsible for people of your profession from around the state. She's built a career of over more than 20 years in counseling, advocating for kids, families, couples, and groups in Greater Columbus and beyond. She is so excited, y'all, because this year marks her 10-year anniversary that she has been in private practice with Starks Counseling. Let me just tell y'all, to be able to hold your ground as a business owner for 10 years, do you understand that most businesses go under within the first 2 years? And she here on 10 years, still kicking it. I am super excited that she's here. Her expertise is sought after by the city of Columbus. She's literally every place that you want to be in the field of mental health and mental wellness. Stephanie, y'all, she gave one of the best TED Talks I have ever seen, talking about how she is a trauma focused therapist and how she is a survivor of trauma herself. Y'all, you gotta, if you haven't seen it, go to TEDx and go on YouTube and Google her so that you can watch her TED Talk. I am excited because she has way too many awards to name. Because if I named them all, y'all, we would be here all night. And I know y'all got questions and I've got questions. So please, if you would, welcome my friend, Stephanie Starks of Starks Counseling. She's a graduate of the Ohio State University, where she earned her Master of Social Work degree. She is also a member of Sigma Gamma Rho, and she is a recipient of, I'm probably going to just do one of your awards, Stephanie, the 2024 Healthcare Justice Award from Think, Make, Live. Y'all, that's just one of her awards. That girl, every time I turn around, she's getting honored for something. I'm like, that's my girl, that's my friend. Y'all know how I am, because I always believe that if my friends are winning, I'm winning, because I'm like that. All right. I want to see. Hey, Brandon, thank you for joining us from North Carolina. I see you, Rhonda Sharp. I see you, Val. I see y'all coming in. I'm going to be asking you, if you have questions, mental health questions, mental wellness questions, will you please put them in the comments? If you will, good evening, Angela Johnson. I see you. I'm so excited to have you here. I have questions for Stephanie, but if you all have questions that you want to ask her, you've got a mental health specialist here. Now, I want to start by saying, at some point, I'm going to ask Stephanie the question, how do you know when you don't need to just get some tidbits, you need to get some therapy? So I'm a huge advocate. I'm a Christian, but good evening, Brother Kenneth. I am a huge advocate of Jesus and therapy. Y'all know that about me. Therapy has been, I see you, Wendy. Therapy has been a lifesaver for me. So tonight, if you've got questions that you want to ask Stephanie, in addition to my questions, I want to encourage you to put them in the comments. So here we go. Steph, I'm going to jump in. You ready, girl?
I'm ready.
You want to say just to open up? Like a hey?
No. Good evening. I love hanging out with my friend T Street. What you all are going to realize during this hour is this is about to get conversational real fast, because this is how we talk normally anyway.
Y'all, I told y'all if it wasn't unethical, Stephanie would be my therapist, but it's unethical because she my girl. So I call her my car therapist. Anytime I'm driving in my car and I need some real quick help me fix my mind, my girl, she is Johnny on the spot, but she don't violate any of those rules of engagement. Stephanie, I'm gonna start out by asking you, for someone who wants to commit to mental wellness this year, but feels
Mhm.
overwhelmed, what's the first small, realistic step you recommend they take in the first 7 days? And why does starting small matter?
So I would say the first thing you can do is like a wellness self check, and really you should start your day out doing this. Kind of check in with yourself. What's going on in my body? What am I feeling? What body sensations am I experiencing? And what is that information telling me? So every emotion we experience, we associate something physiologically in our body. And it's really important not just to have emotional language, so to know what anger feels like in your body, to know what disappointment and sadness feels like. We also need to know where it manifests in our body because that will give us information about what's going on with us way before it hits here intellectually. So the
Ooh,
first thing I would do is just every morning a self check, like, how am I feeling? What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it in my body? And what is my body trying to tell me?
ooh, that's good. Because I think if all of us are honest, we wake up some mornings, I'd be like, oh, what is that pain in my back? And it's not just old age, it's
Come
symptomatic of
on.
something else. That's
Mhm.
good, Steph. Um, Good evening, Chandrita. Somebody asked a question, Steph, if you will put it in your chat, what's your contact information? If you'll
Oh,
put it in the
sure.
comments.
Okay. You want me to do it right now?
Sure, as I gear up to ask you your next question, if you'll put that in there so that people know how to contact you. Now I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm gonna let her put it out there. But my girl, every time I refer somebody, y'all, she always got a wait list. That's a sign of a good therapist
I
when
mean,
they are
always.
hard to get in. She always has a wait list. And I'd be praying, I'd be like begging, like, I got a kid who need to see you in the worst way. I'm that person. I'm that friend who be like, look, I can't trust my friend to just anybody, my kid to just anybody. So I'm usually over there pleading and begging, but she is going to put her information out there. You are a trauma informed slash trauma focused therapist.
Yes.
Many people don't recognize how past trauma shows up in daily life. What are 2 to 3 common signs listeners can look for in themselves that indicate that their nervous system may be dysregulated? And what can they do in the moment when they notice those signs?
So, first, think about this continuum, right? So, you can have emotional dysregulation that could happen due to anything. You could be driving and have to hit your brakes really fast and you almost hit the back of a car. That can cause emotional dysregulation. That doesn't necessarily mean that you've experienced trauma, and it definitely doesn't mean you have necessarily risen to the level of post-traumatic stress disorder, which is an actual clinical diagnosis. But emotion dysregulation does tell you something again about what's going on in your body. So I'll give you a couple of things to look for. If you are what we call hypervigilant, if you're always on guard, like you're easily startled, everything is like, oh my God, oh, I got this deadline. Oh, I got to hurry up and go to church. Oh, I got to get over here. I got to do this. If you're always on 10, that is definitely a sign that you are emotionally dysregulated. If your 10 is like an everyday thing, that is a telltale sign you're emotionally dysregulated. Also, poor sleep patterns are a sign that you may be emotionally dysregulated. We all have a day or two, or maybe even a week where we don't sleep well. I'm a person who, when I go on vacation, I typically don't sleep well the first night or two, but I'm on vacation, right? I'm here to have fun, right? Or I'm there to have fun. If you go days and weeks and months and you are not getting good sleep, you're either not sleeping through the night or you're sleeping through the night and you still wake up at 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning exhausted, you are emotionally dysregulated. There's definitely something going on with you. So I would say those are two examples. I would also say sense of pending doom. So there's a
Mm.
difference between, being sad. So, for example, you could be sad about the state of affairs, but if you're in this mindset where in every situation you're in, you're looking at the worst case scenario, the worst possible outcome, and you can't see a silver lining at all, that's a sign that you're emotionally dysregulated. And those would just be three examples.
Okay. So tell me, if folks are feeling that, what can they do in the moment when they notice some of those signs that you just talked about? I'll be honest with you. Lately, I don't sleep well, and it's been going on for a few months now. It's not a few days or even a week. It's been going on for a few months. So it's me. What are some things that people can do in the immediate?
So let's talk about sleep hygiene first. It's really
Did
important
you
for
just
you.
say sleep hygiene?
Yeah, sleep hygiene. Yeah.
My girl's so dope, y'all. Sleep hygiene. Okay.
So let's talk about sleep hygiene first. It's really important for you maybe an hour or two before you intend to go to bed. Like if you're a person who typically goes to bed at 10, it's really important to be regimented about when you start to shut down. So if you plan to go to bed at 10, you should really start shutting down from the world at 8 o'clock. It could involve you taking a warm shower. It could involve you turning off your electronics. Do not scroll social media as you're going to sleep. You think you're going to sleep because your eyes are getting heavy, but your brain is still firing. You're not going to sleep, and it will disrupt your sleep as you fall asleep. You're not going to get that deep REM sleep. So I would say create a routine about 2 hours before you want to really be asleep, and shut off social media, turn off your television. For God's sakes, don't eat, because that tells your body it's not time to go to bed. So when we snack in the evening, that's not good for preparing our bodies for sleep.
Oh, that's good. I hope that y'all all caught some of those sleep hygiene rules, and that's my new word, sleep hygiene.
Mhm.
Hey Jill, if you all have questions, please put them in the chat. Stephanie, can you give verbally your contact information?
I
Since
was going to say, because I can't log in. I think I have
okay,
to log into
tell me what it
YouTube.
is, and I'll put it. I'll put it in here. I'll post a
I'll
comment.
send it to you privately.
Okay,
Does that
y'all.
work?
Yep, it does. I don't know about you, but I'm super excited to get these. Somebody said, "Oh, hey, Mayana. Mayana is one of my babies, one of my P2P babies." She said, "Great tips. Thank you so much." Stephanie, can you see the comments that are rolling?
I will in a second.
Because I want to
Okay.
make
I
sure
just
that you
sent you
see
my website and my email address.
that. Okay,
Yep, I can
because
see the
folks are coming
comments.
in and they're saying, Brandon was like, "Yeah, sleep hygiene." I'm loving the lingo that you're giving us, so that we are able um, to keep our lives more regulated. Because I love the idea when you start to talk about things and clues for us that we might be suffering dysregulation. I guess my next question is, what are my favorite? And I say it all the time, and so do everybody in my life. I'm keeping my peace at all costs. I'm keeping my peace. We often hear people say that they want peace, but most of the time, when you ask people, so what are you doing to create peace? They don't have the solution, or they don't have the strategy for how they create peace. What does creating peace, psychological safety, those kinds of things, what does it look like, Steph, in everyday life?
So, first of all, I would like to make a distinction between peace and psychological safety.
Okay.
I say all the time, I just want peace. All I want is peace. Peace is very surface. And I think peace can be very easy, but it can also isolate you. So, peace could look like I'm not dealing with nobody. I'm not talking to nobody. I'm not going anywhere. You can find yourself isolating yourself, trying to create peace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Psychological safety is different. Psychological safety speaks to creating a world where you can show up as your authentic self. And that
Mm.
requires work. And that's also not easy. So that means creating psychological safety for yourself would look like not shying away from crucial conversations, learning how to assert yourself. And just so we're clear, when it comes to communication style, there's passive, there's aggressive, the other extreme. In the middle is where you want to be. which is assertive communication style. So creating psychological safety for yourself can be about showing up and asserting yourself, expressing your thoughts and feelings in a safe and appropriate way, and in a way that other people can hear you. So creating psychological safety takes work. It's not easy. If you want peace, go ahead and lock yourself up in your house and watch TV and be with the little cats and dogs and don't let nobody in. You will have a lot of peace. You're just not going to have a lot of interaction and connection. And that's important for self-care. You got to have relationships, and relationships aren't easy.
Wow. Y'all heard that? She's like, psychological safety is work. And I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I just don't want to do the work. I mean, we all say we want it, but thank you for that distinction between peace and psychological safety. Tamika from Happy Hour Conversations podcast, she says that she loves these tips. She said she's going to start using that term, sleep hygiene. And she said that she usually puts her phone automatically on do not disturb at 8:00, and she didn't even know that it was a part of her sleep hygiene. So come on, y'all.
I do the same thing. So you're off to a great start. I want to add this for psychological safety too. Setting boundaries creates psychological safety. And when you think about psychological safety, it's really about helping you be a better version of you, and being able to navigate through the world and deal with conflict, without falling apart, or, like I said, running and hiding, which you can easily do if you want peace. I do it sometimes. I be locked up in my apartment, not talking to nobody. I mean, it can't last. It's not sustainable.
Ooh, but it feel good in the moment.
It feel good for a weekend.
I'm laughing because I'm watching people come on. Kenneth, I hope you saw her contact information. I did put it up there, Starks Counseling 72 at gmail.com. And her website is www.starkscounseling.com. Hey, Ebony. Hey, Elder Val, we see you on here. Elder Val says, I try to operate in psychological safety daily. Girl, it's a daily practice for me. Yes. I'm like, but I'm going to be honest. I'm like Stephanie. Stephanie will tell you, we will go missing, and it'll be like a week, and we be like, yo, you good? We'll send that text, the you good text, because that's what I do for my own psychological health. Sometimes I just unplug from the world just because I need to for my own psychological safety.
Yes, and that's good. You just don't want that to be a lifestyle practice. It's just not sustainable. So just remember, peace is that surface level. I don't want to be bothered with nobody. I don't want to engage with nobody. I don't feel like telling you how I really feel. So I'm just going to stay over here in my little bubble. I mean, that's cool for a couple days, maybe a week. It's not sustainable. Psychological safety, though, requires work.
Okay, so we now know that there's a distinction. So let me ask you this. This is a follow-up. So because of what we now know is the distinction, when we need that peace for longer periods of time, is that a sign that what we really need is psychological safety? And is that a cue for us about maybe we need something deeper in terms of mental health or mental wellness help?
I think it depends on the circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah, right. A good barometer for me as a therapist, if you stay in any kind of down state for longer than 30 days, it's a problem. So you may be in a period in your life where you need to take a week and just kind of unplug. People do it when they go on vacation. I do staycations all the time. And when I'm leaving the office, my staff always say, "Where are you going?" I say, "The heck out of here." That's it. And I'll go home for a week and I'll unplug and I'll reorganize and go to the movies and do all of these things solo because I need to recharge my battery. But then after that week vacation, boom, I'm back to life. I'm not living that way perpetually for months on end.
Okay, so if I'm living it for months on end, I might be crossing some lines and need some help.
Well, for me as a therapist, I say 30 days.
Okay, you said if I go 30, so if y'all don't see me for 30 days and I'm MIA, y'all might be like, see, call your therapist. All right. So Stephanie, routine. I know that one of the things that my therapist worked with me a long time on for some things to get some regulation was developing routines. And it plays a big role for me in my own mental wellness. But consistency, if I'm honest, can be difficult to master.
Mm-hmm.
What does a weekly mental wellness routine look like? And how can my listeners design one that doesn't feel like another obligation or another failure point?
That's an excellent question. If it's okay with you, I want to walk it back. Let's not look at a weekly plan, because if you're already overwhelmed and stressed, that sounds overwhelming.
Okay.
Creating a weekly mental health plan, I would walk it back and say create a daily wellness plan and just hit repeat.
Okay.
So what does that look like? Because I know you like bullet points and
I
details.
do. I need details. I'm a learner who you got to tell me. Don't be the motivational speaker who hypes me up and gave me nothing to eat.
Yes, so I'm about to give you something to eat, okay? And I'm not charging for this tea. All right. So every day you should be looking at taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Just one thing. And a couple of caveats. Spiritual does not have to equal religious. I see clients who are Muslim. Believe it or not, I have clients who are Wiccan. I mean, they worship nature. I have all sorts of clients. So spiritual doesn't have to equal religious, but I include that as part of self-care, because in general, I just think that you will live a healthier life if you believe that there's a being, someone bigger and higher than us,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
So you should be doing one thing every day, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, to take care of yourself. And it does not have to be anything significant. So I'll give you an example. The first thing people think when you say physical self-care is, oh, exercise. Oh my God, I gotta make time for that, right? No, physical self-care could be drinking enough water every day. Physical self-care could be taking your vitamins, taking your blood pressure medication. That could be physical self-care. Let's look at mental self-care. Mental self-care could be taking a break between meetings. Mental self-care and physical self-care could be taking your lunch break. I mean, how many people don't take their actual lunch breaks that they're supposed to take at work? They work through them. Yes, that could be a form of physical and or mental self-care. Emotional self-care could be I collect inspirational quotes, right? And I'll post them on my page. People think I'm posting that for them. I mean, if y'all are blessed by it, amen. But that's a form of my emotional self-care, and I do it every single day. Rarely do I miss. That's a part of my emotional self-care. Spiritual self-care could just be deep breathing mindfulness. It could be walking through grass barefoot, grounding yourself with the earth. It could be taking a walk in one of our parks in the city. It could be prayer and meditation. It could be fasting. That could be spiritual self-care. But if you do one thing every day in those four domains to take care of yourself, I promise you, your cup will be a lot more filled.
Woo.
And when distressing things happen, you will more likely be able to bounce back quicker because you already have a routine of self-care.
Ebony said boundaries are key. And Angela said, what about a 20-minute power nap during the day?
I mean, if you can, yeah, most people don't have that luxury, but if you can, I had a friend, and this was before I even became a therapist. She used to go to her car and take a nap during her lunch hour, like a for real nap, 30, 45-minute nap.
So years ago when I worked at Mount Carmel, we had, and because we were the outreach team, so we were the folks who had the van out there and we served all the shelters, all the homeless shelters in Columbus. And so every day our boss required us to do a 30-minute nap. So we all had cots in our office. Oh my God, I miss those days.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was in pre-K again because I need a nap.
Mm-hmm.
Angela said, yes, it really helps. Angela, you're a teacher. How you get a nap during the day? I'm trying to understand. Help me
Mm-hmm.
to understand. But
Yes.
all right,
Naps
so
are glorious.
I got a question today from someone who is in class, but they said that they want to come back and watch it. And I told them that I would ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Camille's question is, um, how do you navigate mental health during physical health changes such as pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, dementia, etc. How do you manage mental health when you're going through physical health changes?
That's an excellent question. What's her name?
Camille.
Okay, so Camille, check this. Physical, mental, emotional wellness, it's all connected. So you should never be managing one and neglecting the others. So going back to the earlier question, if every day you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you're not missing anything. Because I'll give you an example. When I do an assessment with clients and they're telling me about chronic fatigue and being tired all the time and feeling weak and lethargic, the first thing I ask is, when was the last time your blood was drawn? Do you have low vitamin D? Do you have low iron? So that's an example of how a physical health issue could manifest and have you thinking, oh, I'm suffering from depression. Maybe, maybe not. You could just have low iron and low vitamin D. And if you address that physically, then you may feel your mental health may improve. So it's all connected. You shouldn't be focused on one. You should always, every day, be focused on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self-care.
I love that, showing the connection between all of those things. Brandon and Val are co-signing that naps are essential. I love how folks are co-signing and coming on like, yep, nap is essential for me. So I appreciate all y'all nap takers. Even when I try to take a nap, most days my body is just like, I'm not sleeping. You get 4 hours and that's all you're going to get, T. So, I'm always jealous of the nappers.
Yes.
Stephanie, for people who struggle with negative self-talk or shame, what's one evidence-based technique that they can practice this week, right now, to interrupt that inner dialogue and replace it with something more positive or more supportive?
So my favorite evidence-based technique for that is check the facts.
Oh no, you're frozen. Okay, y'all. So y'all know, I don't know if it's happened to anybody else, but Spectrum has been tripping for the last 2 weeks. And so I think that Stephanie's internet has frozen. I'm texting her to let her know.
I'm back.
Okay, she's back. Okay, cool. I told him Spectrum has been tripping. Mine has been freezing for the last 2 weeks. Some people have seen it on my morning coffee with teas. Okay, we're sorry. So jump back in and tell us, how do we evidence-based, how do we disrupt negative self-talk?
Yes, check the facts. So let's say, for example, I'm thinking, oh, I'm stupid. I can't do anything right. Check the facts. Look for evidence in your life that you're stupid and you can't do anything right. Typically, when we have those negative thoughts, there's evidence in our circle of influence that that's just not true. The other thing is, ask yourself, if my friend or if my sister or if my brother or if my mate was saying these negative things about himself or herself or their self, what would I say to them? What advice would I give them?
Okay. So, because most of us, you're right, most of us are much kinder to other people than sometimes we are. No, I ain't that person. Than we are to other people, than we are to ourselves. We're nicer to other people. We speak kinder to other people. And like you said, we are able to see it better. I'm putting it in the chat, y'all asking the question, what are some of the negative self-talk things that you all sometimes say and that your mind says to you? I
would also, another evidence-based technique would be to challenge that thought. So if you have a negative thought, immediately challenge it with something positive. And if you can't think of something positive, think of something neutral. So something neutral would be, I'm doing the best that I can at any given moment. But you have to do it in the moment, because if you don't, what happens is you start to spiral. One negative thought leads to another negative thought. Then you start to ruminate on that thought. And now you down in this deep, dark hole.
This started with one piece of negative thought.
One negative thought.
Ooh.
So challenge it.
The only one that's ever happened to, that you start, all of a sudden you're feeling good, and that one thought creeps in, and the next thing you know, Melissa Thomas St. Clair says she likes that notion of a neutral.
Yeah,
Give
it may
yourself
be too
extra
hard to think. You know, if you're thinking I suck, it may be hard to think I'm amazing. But maybe
love.
you could say in this moment, in any given moment, I'm doing the best that I can.
Girl, and sometimes that's all I ask of me. I'm like, girl, when I was battling depression, the days I got out of bed and took a shower, that felt like victory to me. I'm like,
Yes.
that's the best I had today. I didn't have nothing else
Yes.
to give today. And so I appreciate that notion of this is the best I have right now that I can give. Don't forget, if you have questions that you want to ask Stephanie, by all means, put them in the chat. Um, Relationships deeply impact. And let me just say this: relationships or lack thereof
Mm-hmm.
deeply impact some people's mental wellness. How can listeners assess whether their relationships are supporting or harming their mental wellness? And what is one healthy boundary they can practice setting? You said don't do long term today.
So you got to ask yourself with every relationship, whether it's a family member, a friend, an acquaintance, even strangers that we interact with, we have relationship with. I mean, uh, the security guard at my building, my office building, I speak to that man every day. We chit chat. He's a stranger, but I have relationship with him, right? We conversate. So what I would say with all of your relationships, however big or small, you have to ask yourself, after those interactions, do you feel like your tank has been filled up or do you feel depleted? That's the gauge. And let me say this, don't take one day, because I think that's cruel, because we all have off days, right? I'm not talking about one day where your friend gets on your nerves, or one day you hang up the phone and like, oh my God, like she just dumped on me. I'm talking about pervasive, persistent, every day, every interaction. That's when you start to have to start asking yourself, in general, does this relationship fill my tank or does it deplete me? If it fills your tank more often than not, wonderful. Hopefully there's reciprocity. So if your friend sometimes depletes you, maybe there's days where you deplete your friend, but there's some balance, there's some reciprocity. That's a true relationship. But if you feel more often than not empty as opposed to being filled, then you got to ask yourself, is that somebody that you want to have give close proximity to you on a regular basis? And I'm not saying cut off, because notice I made a distinction: family, friends, acquaintances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you call them a friend and really they're just an acquaintance.
That's
Maybe you're
good.
giving them too much power in your life.
Melissa asked the question, what if it's your adult child? Girl, can I co-sign that, Melissa? Co-sign. So that's for T and Melissa. What if it's your adult child?
Oh, honey, I could add me to that list. um, I think the same thing applies. Sometimes you have to take breaks even from your loved ones. T can attest to this. I am really good at putting my family on ice. I will love them for a distance, for a season, for months. There, in some cases, it's been years. I still love them. If they need me, I'm there. I'm showing up. But you can't have close up access to me every day because you're draining.
Oh, girl. I was laughing the other day. I was with one of my adult
Mhm.
children. They're not the same. With one of my adult children. And really, I didn't really want to be with my adult child. I just wanted to be with his new child. And so I just iced him out while I was sitting on his couch. I iced him out and put my whole focus on my grandbaby because
Yes.
he drains my energy. Being in his presence is draining.
Yes. And sometimes it's not that the kid, your child is doing wrong per se. My daughter I'm neurodivergent too. I have attention deficit disorder. So I have a hard time focusing. My daughter has the combined type. So I describe her as like a Tasmanian devil. When she calls me mom, and I'm like, oh my Lord, right? She doesn't mean to be that way. That's just how her brain works. But some days I have the capacity for it, and some days I don't. And I'm very vocal with letting her know I'm gonna need to call you back because I'm just not in a good place today. And she'll say, okay.
Angela says her too, but she doesn't put them on ice that long, but she does sometimes put them on ice. Um, I, it's interesting to me when I think about the times that I've needed to go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephanie, so we're going to enter into this place because I think that too long people try to do, just like I don't self medicate myself at home because I'm afraid I'm gonna overdose on some cough medicine, and really what I needed was an antihistamine. I'm gonna go to the doctor. Y'all, I am a Jesus and therapy girl, so I'm going to go ahead and put my bias on the table. For some people, though, therapy can feel intimidating or inaccessible. What are a few ways that listeners can begin doing meaningful mental wellness work even before they sit with a therapist? But I'm going to encourage folks that some of y'all, real talk, I see your behavior. You need to be sitting with a therapist. That's real talk. And how do they know when it's time to seek professional help?
So hopefully you all who are on the live were taking notes of the things that T and I were talking about that you could do immediately, right? To kind of gauge how you're feeling, assess what your needs are. Those are the things that anyone can do, no matter what's going on with your mental health. As a therapist, when I'm gauging what's going on with somebody, I'm always looking at how the frequency, intensity, and duration of the symptoms, right? So, how long has this particular thing or number of things been going on? How often does it show up? Is it showing up every day, once a day, 3, 4 times a day? And then has it over time gotten worse, right? So, I always talk about that 30-day window. Something terrible can happen in your life and you could literally be struggling with it for several weeks. But if several
Hmm,
weeks goes into several months, you need to talk to somebody.
that's
And
good.
let me say this, everyone who comes to therapy doesn't need to be in therapy.
You froze. She froze again, y'all. I'm letting her know. She was saying not everybody, and I am gonna,
Okay.
okay. I'm gonna go to a question that Melissa asked because it's so trending right now. Oprah even did a segment on this notion. And so talk to me a little bit about this, Stephanie, because I'm curious. Um, Melissa says there's a new narrative that the love of a mother is now toxic, or the love of anybody. It could be a parent
Mhm.
that when we check in on people that we care about, oh, it's I'm cutting you off because you're toxic. What once was love is now their reason to be less than loving, and sometimes now they're encouraging, particularly young people, college age people, the early 20s, 20, 25, to cut off their parents because their parents are toxic. Talk to me a little bit about that.
I
Have you
think it
seen it?
depends.
Have you been watching that trend?
No, I
It's all
haven't.
over social media. And
I
like I
have.
said,
Okay.
Oprah did a whole segment on it. This notion of how many young people are cutting off their family, their siblings, they're cutting off their grandparents. Oh, you're checking in, you're just toxic. And if you say anything that challenges like their notion of their rightness or anything, it's grounds for cutting them off because of toxicity. And we're not talking about putting people on ice. These folks are saying no more contact at all, no more relationship.
So keep in mind, as a trauma focused therapist, T, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. So keep in mind, as a trauma focused therapist, when people are coming to me for individual, couples, family counseling, they've experienced trauma, right? And it's typically within a system. So the people I work with who may talk about having toxic family members, those family members are actually toxic. It's not imaginary. So I don't know what's going on TikTok or social media about toxic, but remember we were talking about psychological safety. So
Mm-hmm.
what I would encourage those young people to do, and this is probably the issue, they're not good communicators. They probably do not know how to be assertive. Remember I talked about passive, aggressive,
Yes.
Assertive communication, they don't know how to express their thoughts and feelings in a safe and appropriate manner and in a way in which the other person can receive it. Sometimes people will just say you're toxic and I'm cutting you off because they're not good communicators. They don't have psychological safety. They don't know how to set boundaries in their relationships. They don't lean into conflict so they can get to the other side of it and have a stronger relationship with that person. That takes a skill set that I don't think a lot of these young people have. So it's just easier to call people toxic and cut them off. What I would say is do your own work before you start pointing your finger calling other people toxic.
Clack it, y'all, clack it. Let me say this. I so appreciate that piece right there, Steph. When you talked about that communication piece, I have a friend, and years ago, when we started to become friends, I had noticed a pattern that every time she got mad at her friends, she would cut them off. And I really liked this person. I value them. And so we had a disagreement. And she was like, I'm done. I'm like, not gonna let you be done. I'm gonna let you have a break, but I'm not gonna let you be done because our relationship is worth fighting for. So I'm gonna give you a period of time. I'm gonna let you be this mad, but it's not healthy to cut people off every time there's a disagreement. I'm not talking about toxicity. I'm talking about we don't see eye to eye. And can I tell you, I'm so glad that I fought for that relationship because that's one of the people in my life that I value most in this season of my life. Because and had I let her walk away, and it was crazy because I was watching her do it with other people, and I'm like, man, ain't none of y'all gonna fight for the relationship. I'm fighting. And so I do think that it requires communication. And so I gave them the space to tell me, these are the things that you do that are triggers, T. Okay. If I want this relationship, then I had to make a conscientious effort not to do the things that triggered them and made them feel disrespected. So I was like, okay, I will commit to this, but this is what you do. You shut all the way down and you run from conversation. And so having that adult, that's why you said these young people sometimes don't have those skills, having that adult ability to simply communicate. That's good, Steph.
And let me tell you the power of an I statement. It is really hard to fall out with someone when someone says to you, when you say this thing, I feel sad. I feel disappointed. I feel invisible. It's hard to argue with someone when they tell you how your behavior impacts them emotionally. I statements, it sounds trite, but they are powerful and very disarming. I use them with my family. I use them with my family. And y'all, it took about a good year. And at first they were laughing at me when I would say, well, you know, when you crack that joke, it makes me feel sad. And they would laugh in my face. And you know what? I would just repeat that I statement.
Girl, that piece.
It took me
People are
about a
loving.
year to
People
shape
are
their
loving this
behavior.
communication point. Melissa says, "Bingo." Angela's like, right. She's like, that's good. I let people have their mad time. Jahan is clapping. People are saying that that's a good. That whole notion of communication. I don't think we talk enough about good communication as a therapy tool. You know what I mean? People are like, one of the best things that my therapist gave me was the ability to better communicate with the people who were causing me pain.
Yes.
I didn't know, because I think I'm a pretty good communicator.
And a good gauge is, remember earlier I talked about friends versus acquaintances, family, strangers. You got to think about first where they fall in your life, because sometimes we make a mistake and we put people in spaces they're not supposed to be in. I'm calling you my friend when really you're an acquaintance. So guess what? I set myself up for disappointment because I'm giving you more power than you really even want. You're not my friend. We're just acquaintances. So guess what? The ownership falls on me. Now, if they're in the right place, if they are truly a friend, then that's a relationship I value, and I'm going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to step outside of ego, and I'm going to humble myself, and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to try to fix it. We're going to fix it together. But the first step is to make sure you got people in the right spot. Sometimes we disappoint ourselves because we got people in the wrong spots.
I love the way you phrased that. You said we have people in spots that they don't want. Forget we don't want them. We got them in the wrong. We got them in spots they don't want to be in. I see Melissa says yes. She uses the power of the I statements in her classroom. Angela says the same thing. We tell our students to tell other students how they feel. Y'all, we are giving. If we are giving people Val says yes, exclamation point. If we're giving people these tools to become better communicators and to better communicate our needs to them and allow them to communicate their needs, y'all, we can fix some things real cheap, like learning some communication skills. But I'll
Mhm,
be honest with you, sometimes trauma is deep for
mhm,
folks. And I'll be honest, I had to go to therapy because there were some tools that I needed so that when I began to have essential conversations, it didn't cause more blowups, which for me would have been more traumatic. And
mhm,
it was my therapist, y'all. That's why when I tell you I'm a huge believer in therapy, it was my therapist who gave me some strategies for how to have those conversations. I do a workshop with young people about how to have crucial conversations with the adults, their parents, teachers in their lives so that they can be heard and so that people can
mhm,
respond to their
mhm.
needs. I
And
think that
you're also shaping behavior, right? So we teach people how to treat us. So, and I use this with kids as well. You know, a parent will bring a child into therapy, fix that kid, and I promise you, within 2 sessions, already know the kid is not the problem. 8 times out of 10. So I'll say to the kid, okay, you know, Miss Stephanie knows that you're not a problem, but let me help you help your parents. I'm going to teach you some skills and we're going to practice those skills and you're going to practice those skills with your parents. And I'm going to help you shape their behavior so that you'll have a better relationship with them. And it's like dropping a pebble in a pond. There's this ripple effect. When you work on yourself, you will without question have influence on the people around you. And the people who don't want to change, they'll fall off. So that just means they weren't meant for you anyway.
Ooh, people are on here saying, "Yep, exactly. Yep." Those are good. Oh my God, Steph, that whole piece when you work on yourself, it
Mhm,
creates ripple effects all around. That's good.
mhm.
And
And
that's
if it
why.
doesn't, that person's not supposed to be in your life.
Ooh, so that might be a clue for you.
Yes.
Hmm.
No one likes, if you're a people pleaser, for example, no one likes it when you stop being a people pleaser. But the people who truly love you, even when they feel uncomfortable with change, they're going to roll with it because they love you. But if people are super resistant and they don't want to allow you to change and grow, that is a telltale sign that they should not be in your life anyway.
Ooh, that's a like
So
Ebony
you
said
release
earlier.
them.
That's a lack of respect of boundaries.
Hmm.
Oh,
So you
that's good.
release them.
People are saying great nuggets. Steph, this is really, really good. Let me ask you this question.
Hmm.
Is someone, because we're at the top of the year, if
Hmm.
someone is approaching this year as a year of living well, what mindset shift do you believe is essential for long term mental wellness?
Long term mental wellness. Start with self. If you want to make sustainable change in your life, you have to start with yourself. And it sounds simple, but how often do we really stop and do self assessments? I'm a therapist, and every now and again, I got to check myself like, you're tripping. What's going on with you? Okay, look around. Has something changed? Are you stressed? Is there something going on in your life that's causing you to respond this way? So, the first thing you need to do, again, going back to our earlier conversation, is a self assessment. How am I feeling? What's going on in my life? What do I need at this moment? And how do I change what I don't like that's going on in my life in this moment? And this could be a day to day, this could be a daily conversation. It really should be anyway. Because how many of us create New Year's resolutions and by March we forgot what they were? But guess what? If we was checking in daily on ourselves, what's going on with me? What am I feeling in my body? What is this telling me? Is there something that's changed in my life? Something going on? You know, what do I need to adjust and change to feel better in the moment? That's can be a daily practice.
I love that notion. I love that you've given us some practical things that we can do. You told us to check in on us daily. You told us to make sure that we're connecting the mind, the body, the spirit, and what was the other one? Mind, body,
Physical,
spirit.
mental, emotional, spiritual.
Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Making sure that we understand the mind body connections when you answer Camille's questions. Those are really amazing. Just really, I think Angela said it, really great nuggets. Melissa says, yes, sustainable change starts with self. I'm only in true control of Melissa. Girl, can I just tell you that's the hardest and the best lesson to learn is that the only person you can really control is T.
Yes. So when clients come to me and they have all this chaos in their life, right? And they want me to help me fix these external things, right? We call it internal versus external locus of control, LOCUS, right? They want me to help fix all these things outside of them. And what I tell them is, give me 90 days, and I promise you, if you spend 90 days focusing on yourself, everything else in your life will shift because you're starting with yourself, the thing that you can control, the thing that you can fix just like that.
That's good. So y'all heard that. I always tell people now, Steph, I know that there's lots of different like schools of thought around this issue because you kind of alluded to it. You said something about it earlier, and you and I have talked about this in the past, so I might as well just put it out there. One of the things that I am is I'm very anal and structured. So like I remember telling my therapist when I hit the second year mark, I don't intend to be in therapy for the rest of my life. This is my timeline. So I want to spend this year working really, really hard so that I can end therapy by this date. And my therapist was so excited to know that I had an end date in mind. And so we dove deep and did the work, the hard work to push through so that I wasn't in therapy forever. You just said, give me 90 days of you working on you. Talk to us a little bit about, because I think that there are some folks who lack some ethics and they keep people in therapy. And I know that there's some folks who need to be in for years based on some trauma that they've gone through. But talk to me about, how do you know when you find, what are the questions when you're like interviewing a therapist? Because everybody can't be my therapist. I went in with some questions. I interviewed my therapist. I interviewed 3 people before I settled on the person I wanted to see.
Yes. So I actually did a TED talk, and it's called How a Trauma Focused Therapist Found a Trauma Focused Therapist. And in that TED talk, I talked about some of the things you should look for when you're looking for a therapist. Earlier, we talked about evidence-based practice. So I would look for a therapist who has been trained in various treatment modalities. I'm a trauma focused therapist. If you go look me up on Psychology Today, or you go look at my website, I've been trained in trauma focused CBT, EMDR, DBT, all of these treatment models that will address specifically trauma. So you want to make sure that you have a therapist who is trained in various treatment modalities. You also want a therapist who has experience. I also talked in my TEDx talk about how you could go to a general practitioner for years and you could love that therapist. And you would be thinking, man, I love her. Like, I feel like I've made some progress, but there's something still off. Well, you may need a trauma focused therapist. Maybe you have some unhealed trauma. That's a specialty. So you also want to make sure that the therapist is an expert in the area where you're struggling. So there are therapists who are experts in couples counseling. There are therapists who are experts in depression. There's therapists who are experts in anxiety or OCD or ADHD. My area of specialty happens to be trauma. But make sure you find a therapist who specializes in the thing that you're struggling with.
That makes sense to me. You know, I went to somebody because I was really battling depression. After my mom died, I was really battling. And I found someone who focused both on grief and also on depression. Because I mean, it makes sense to me, because guess what? If you are having problems with your ears, nose, and your throat, you're going to go to an ENT. If you're
Right, you're
having
not going to
problems,
your well, you might start at your primary care doctor, but he's gonna refer you to an
they're
expert.
going to refer you to a specialist. So that makes
Mhm.
sense to me. That just like they're a specialist of the body, they're a specialist for the mind. And so thank you
Yes.
for that. I appreciate that.
You
By the
you
way,
also need to interview people. You need to ask them, and this is something else I would ask them. Now, this is just my opinion, y'all. There's no evidence to support this. It's just a theory. I would never go to a therapist who's never been in therapy.
me either.
How do you know what it's like to be on the other side of that table? Are you going to be compassionate? Are you going to be able to balance being compassionate with holding me accountable? Have you ever experienced the other side of that relationship? In graduate school, one of my practicums, we had to go to a therapist, even if it was just one session. But for me, you have had to. I need you to be able to tell me you've at some point been in therapy, even if it was just for a couple of sessions.
Can I tell you that was one of the questions that I asked my therapist, the one I landed on?
Mhm.
Because one of the ones that I interviewed told me no, that they don't see a therapist. I'm like, have you ever? And she said no. I was like, I don't trust somebody who take in all that emotional baggage from everybody else and don't have no place to dump. I don't trust it. So I interviewed my therapist, and that was one of the questions that I asked: do you have a therapist? And the one
Yes.
I landed with was like, I do.
Mhm.
By
Or
the
at
way, I
least a consultation team. And I actually have experienced both. I've had a consultation team where I was able to share experiences from cases. I've actually been in individual therapy before. I just went back to therapy last year because my mom was diagnosed with cancer and I thought I was going to lose my mind. I was like, let me go to therapist before I wig out on somebody.
one of the I want to do two things. One, I put your YouTube, your TED Talk
Thank
link
you.
in the chat. I put it in there. If you have not gone, y'all got to go see this. I was there when she did this, and it was so incredibly powerful. And it was crazy because I had heard it while she was practicing, but when her delivery came, y'all, it was just straight fire. So I want to encourage you, if you've not seen her TED Talk, to go and check out Stephanie's TED Talk. I put it in the chat. Angela asked the question: can grief look like trauma and depression?
I would say so. If you look at trauma as an umbrella, under that umbrella could be a lot of different things: grief, depression, anxiety, ADHD, uh, OCD. So, what I would say is that under the umbrella of trauma, there could be grief and depression.
Does that answer your question, Angela? I hope that you saw her distinction there. Melissa says, my therapist is a faith-filled therapist that supports my therapy with scripture. It has been a game changer. Mine was too, and it was a game changer for me because I needed somebody to, if my faith identity is at the core of who I am, I can't see someone who doesn't understand
Who doesn't
my faith
align?
identity.
Yes. So the single biggest predictor of success, now this is evidence-based. The single biggest predictor of success in therapy is not education and training, it's rapport. So if you need a therapist where your values align in that way, then it's likely you're going to have a better relationship with that therapist and you're going to be more successful in therapy.
Awesome. Stephanie, this is my last question, and it takes us to the 1 hour mark.
Okay.
What's one question that I didn't ask you and no one else asked you that you wish that we had? And then answer it.
And no one asked. You didn't ask me, what do I do to take care of myself?
Answer the question.
I'm the person who actually practices what I preach. So earlier I talked about how every day you should be doing something physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to take care of yourself. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I cover 3 out of 4 of those before 9 a.m. Just one small thing. And the key is being intentional. To me, that's like loving on myself every morning. I think structure is important, and we didn't touch upon that. Structure is really important. For me to stay healthy, I need a certain level of structure. It's important how I start my day. It's important how I end my day. And self-care is a big part of that. And I will tell you, On the days that I'm feeling distressed, I usually have gotten out of the habit of practicing those 4 things every day. I got super busy, right? I had a super hectic week, so I had to start real early a couple of days, and I didn't practice consistently what I normally practice.
Okay. So that routine, that structure that you put in place, and you doing the 4 things that you told the rest of us to do, is how
Mhm.
you care for Stephanie.
And it makes a difference.
Melissa did put a question in. She said, "I suffer from PTSD from 2 major events. How do you know when you no longer suffer from PTSD?"
A therapist will be able to screen you. So part of being evidence-based is that you will use tools to assess people for particular things. There's a tool that's used to assess PTSD. I actually use it with my clients that I have through the health department, that contract. And there's a way to measure if you're improving. And if that score changes, then your PTSD is improving.
Hopefully, Melissa, that answered your question, that tool is something that your therapist is using, and that they're seeing some measured change over time of
Mhm.
your PTSD and what that score looks like. And of course, now they all got the questions. What were some of those emotional things that you practice daily? Oh, for in the area of emotional, Stephanie,
Oh,
Angela asked the question, what are some of those emotional
great
things?
question, Angela. I sing. And that people don't know that I can sing, but I sing and I listen to music. That is a huge part of my self-care. I listen to so much music, especially praise and worship music. I was telling T that for several weeks I was waking up out of my sleep singing praise and worship songs. So that music was marinating in my spirit throughout the night, and I literally was opening my eyes and singing. So singing for me is a huge form of emotional self-care.
Melissa said, "Yeah, she has scored me." Jahan says, "Music is my therapy too." Y'all, I can't sing, but I sing every day because that song I sing because I'm happy. Yep, I sing because
Yeah.
I'm happy. Um,
Yes.
but I do think that it's so important that we all are on a journey of mental wellness. The world is a hard place to be. We owe ourselves good mental wellness. I do it for me, not for
Mhm.
anybody else. I do good mental wellness for T. Stephanie, thank you so much. By the way, y'all, she does have a wait list, but I still want to encourage you, if you're looking for a good therapist and you don't have one, Starks, www.starkscounseling.com. Did I get that right?
If you email me, that might push you up on the list.
She says,
Free game.
free game. Um, Elder Kim says she tapped in at the end, but she will go back to watch. Melissa said, "You singing to me is my forever memory in my heart." T Street. I was at the hospital, y'all, when I thought I was gonna lose my friend. Y'all don't understand. I was in her room, and the Holy Spirit told me to sing this song to her the morning after, literally the morning after her accident. I was standing at Melissa's bedside holding her hand, singing and weeping the whole time because I was like, I can't lose my friend. Y'all don't understand. Holy Spirit was like, you're not going to lose her, but she needs to know that it's all going to be in my hands. And I was like,
Mhm.
so I stood at her bedside and sang. And I don't care if I was off key. I might have been off key. I think I was on that day though, but I might have been off key. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Coffee with Tea. We're going to go back to this format for a few weeks. We're going to do Tuesday evenings, different topics. If you have a topic that you want to hear and you know an expert in that topic, or if you are an expert, by all means, reach out to us at amazingteistreet@gmail.com. If there's a topic that you want to hear, or if you want to come on and you want to discuss a topic that you think would be relevant for my audience. But I don't care what nobody says. Melissa says, "Thank you, women of God." Can I just tell you, is this not an amazing, hey Tyke, an amazing way to jumpstart this series with my girl Stephanie Starks? Was
Mhm.
I right? Did she deliver? Y'all can put that in the chat because my girl killed tonight.
Thank
She gave y'all,
you.
I always say, I'm gonna use a Jay-Z line. She gave us $1 million worth of game for $9.99. So thank you so much,
Yes.
Stephanie, for your
Yes. And I
time
believe
tonight.
in Jesus and therapy too. Just a FYI.
And I laugh as she's becoming more and more a Christian therapist, even though that's not what she set out to be. Because if
Yes.
it's ridiculous to you,
Listen, all you gotta do is tell God what you're not gonna do, and he'll just, make you look silly.
I see some folks. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Lamar. Oh, some of the men are on here. Hey, Andrew Thomas. Hey, Rhonda. Hey, Tyke. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. If you came in late, you can catch this on my YouTube channel, Amazing T Street. Go on there and you can get this episode. It'll be on Facebook for a little bit, but y'all know I'm not a big Facebook fan because they delete in 30 days. So I'm the Amazing T Street, but y'all already know there's absolutely, positively nothing amazing in me that's not in each and every one of you. So whatever you do, heed Stephanie's tips because our minds matter. This is our journey to mental wellness. Have an amazing evening, everyone. Thank you.